Aloha guys, this is JRTV. Little star show for you. Falling stars, wish for good luck. Want to share an issue regarding possession, property, ownership, and charity. It's just stuff that's come up. See, there's this idea or this experience I had where I basically, my friend and I went to get some charitable donations, food, and then he convinced me to give them to him and in turn give them to somebody who he owes some money to, a marijuana dealer. And this same guy, let's call him Mike, he basically, tries to take charity from me, but is unwilling to, for example, accept the government check. And so I've just had that experience in my life before where people aren't willing to take charity from others, but they are willing to take it from like people they know, quote unquote. And the problem with that is some of those people they know are limited in their budget and financial ability. So it's like crabs in a bucket. The parable where the crabs just hold each other back when one tries to get out. And I don't think it's always a conscious thing. Obviously, some people are trying to manipulate. For example, my friend, he got me in his car, and notice how the language I'm using. He got me in his car. Like that's a very dangerous thing to say. Like, it's one thing to say that I decided. It's responsible to say I decided to go in the car with him, but he kind of, manipulators do things. They try to get you on their property in their car, and then they can further manipulate you or whatever to whatever agenda or extent they are going for. And so that's what he did. And he basically, he gave me command. Do manipulators? They'll give command statements. They'll say things like, "Where are you?" to coax information and start going in the direction. Just like another person, if they're on a date, they might gradually do things to try to seduce the person. Manipulators or salespeople, they might try to make people laugh, and then when someone is in a good mood, they're off guard, for example. That's because they get them into a chakra, a certain chakra. But it's very dangerous to go into, say, a playful or heart chakra if somebody is having power over your lower chakra. Like if somebody has power over your transportation or location or your basic needs, what ends up happening is they or just your higher, like your heart center, which might have more to do with like judging whether somebody is good or bad or things like that. The point is, when you're emotional, you can be more easily persuaded. In addition to that, it's just a situation, guys. It's just a situation that we have to be aware of and make a choice that we're going to be in control of our lives. Like, it's a conscious choice you have to make. And specifically, I'm tying it in to the idea that being charitable, and who you accept charity from and who you give charity to, who you empower, you need to be conscious of that. And you also should be conscious that not to think you own people just because you give them things or offer them things or give them money. There's a dangerous desire to, and I use to say dangerous because it's destructive. All what I'm talking about leads to, the ugliest things in humanity. The issue is if you're say wealthy and you see people more as objects and try to push or force them to do things, it's actually not beneficial to you. So, for example, let's say you pay somebody and they don't do the job well. Well, is it useful for you to be upset at them, or maybe you could try to either teach them, encourage them, or hear them out why they didn't do it well, or just continue working with them and say, sorry, it won't work out, and something to that effect. But instead of being angry and thinking that just because you have something, it gives you the right to be angry or be mean to somebody, that's the concern that I'm trying to share. It's an imperfect world that we live in, but we need to be aware of certain people who, what their agendas are, what chakra they're in, what chakra you're in, what needs, desires, or wants are you consciously or unconsciously seeking at any given time, and everything to that effect, like some serious things. But and the idea of charity and the idea of ownership. Don't feel like you own things and that there's ever a good reason to, unless you're actually threatened, fight or flight. And fighting is not only physical, it's also verbal. But it's still, even though it's more civilized to shout at each other verbally instead of physically attacking each other or trying to destroy someone's personal property, it's still more civilized to be calculated and not have to shout or be angry. Extract yourself from a situation if you're upset, or so it just things to think about property and life and possessions and people, but also realize that people use manipulative tactics. They'll say like, come, I'm gonna pick you up soon, instead of in their car, instead of asking, well, would you like to hang out tonight? So first establish that premise, and guess what? Sometimes you're not in a position to say yes or no, so you got to go with it. You got to accommodate people. You've got to placate or tolerate them, deal with them, but realize that don't get personally involved in it. I see bad people like a storm that needs to be observed and analyzed so that it doesn't happen in the future. So if you're in that storm right now, do this. Think about what's going on, observe, see it as the issues and the concepts and not the specific person. Like, you might be prone to say, oh, that specific bad person is so mean or evil or rude, or and why do you have to deal with it if you're a nice person? Well, maybe you have to, for example, improve your flight skills. Maybe you have to, sometimes people that make you upset, they compel you to do things like, better job or adapt or all types of things. So let's look at things as objectively as we can, and in the interest of freedom. Thanks for considering, guys. And it's freedom based upon responsibility, right? You don't want to say that, for example, somebody might say, bad person, they're the one who's responsible. No, flip it and turn it into you're responsible. You're going to see what happened and ensure that it doesn't happen for others. And the only way to do that is to intelligently process it and look at it as facts. Okay, this person was mean, they did this, and I was this and this. I was maybe submissive because I felt like I had to, or manipulators, they'll give command statements. They'll say like come over here, or something like that, or look over there. So you've got to train yourself to not just mindlessly follow an order or recommendation or verbal command. Don't mindlessly follow it, because if you do, even if you're around your friends, like if somebody says, the best practice for this is just if somebody says go look over there, think about looking over there before you do. And also consider scenarios where anything to do with, it's important to think about where you are. Are you in somebody's house? Are you in their house? Whose house is it? And at the end of the day, either give or seek space, leave or request somebody leave. Don't resort to, as intelligent people, we shouldn't have to resort to verbal or physical attacks. All right, thanks for considering. Aloha.